All right. The man, the myth, the legend, Jacob Greek. How are you today, brother?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Where are you today?
Right now, I'm in Balneário Camboriú. It's southern Brazil.
Jesus, I always got to ask you where you're at because you're always moving around, man. That is the life, right?
Yeah, it's actually getting a little bit chilly here, and I'm actually going to come up for the American summer, never-ending summer.
Chasing summers, man. I love it. I love it. Before we get more into the present, let's talk about your past. How did you get into sales? What was your first sales experience?
My first experience was actual sales experience was door to door. My background out of university, as an engineering dropout, was doing some fine dining, some bartending. But my first experience was actually door to door. I found it through like watching a YouTube channel, and they were recruiting. I learned in that first summer that the worse offer you're on, the better skills you need to have. And
Yeah.
and the offer wasn't that great. It was selling pest control, but being on a team, it really motivated me to get on a better offer, number one, but also like continue being in that atmosphere of like people competing with each other in a really healthy way, motivating each other to get to the next level.
Got it. So then you probably jumped into the education portion of sales and started learning a lot, right? I imagine you started reading books, doing trainings.
Yeah, once, I mean, even in that summer, a lot of the top guys, they had on their bookshelf, top sales books, mindset, sales psychology books that they were reading every single morning, every single night, continuing to improve just their skill set. So I started with just the books. It doesn't cost that much to read a book if you have time, but not very much money. After that, I actually realized that a lot of the value is from getting into, actual like groups, with people that are selling different things, and you can learn, different methods and different techniques from people that are in other industries than you.
Got it. What would you say is the number one thing you learned from reading all the books?
I would say the one thing I've taken from just the books is that first of all, a lot of the books are outdated. Like they're written by people that sold in like the 60s and 70s, and that and you can't really use those like old school methods, high pressure tactics anymore, because it's not like you're selling a timeshare. But the newer books, like Robert Greene, newer authors, you learn that sales is everything in life, and that it, like, no matter if you're trying to persuade your girlfriend to go to a certain adventure with you, or telling your friend about an amazing restaurant you went to, everything is sales that you're communicating in life. Sales is really the ability to be persuasive and have a strong influence on other people.
100%. You're always the buyer or the seller, right?
Mm-hmm.
Better to be the seller.
It is.
That's
yes.
what the money's at. Absolutely. So talk to me about your sales training. How many trainings have you been through before we met?
It was a good amount. I'd say, besides the company training, I was looking into others. There was two programs I had paid several $1,000s for before I came across your coaching. And yeah, I mean, I learned good things.
Yeah, what did you learn? Talk to me about some of the things you learned.
Well, I learned that it's possible. A lot of times when you might have a 9-to-5 job, or you're working labor, you're working construction, you don't really realize that it's possible to make large amounts of money online, closing deals, just doing the sales portion and not fulfilling the delivery. The biggest thing once you get in these groups is you see other people's posts and their wins, and you're like, wow, if they can do it, I can too. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, they might teach you everything, but like, you got to believe in yourself that it's possible for you.
That's right. So it gives you the vision, it gives you the hope and the inspiration then really.
Yeah. And like, you might see someone who's like, you're like, wait, I actually think I'm better than them at like this certain thing, and they're making more money than me. And you're like, it makes you feel like, what am I doing? I should like get to it. Take some
Funny enough,
action.
that's actually how I became a trainer. I was going to a lot of trainings, free trainings, paid trainings, all that. And a lot of the speakers on stage, I was like, I can do that better than they can do that. Why am I not doing that? Why am I
Mhm,
here as a student when I could be here as a teacher? This makes no sense.
mhm,
And I'm a little stubborn, so it took me a lot of years of going to it. But finally, like, the ball clicked. Like, yeah, I was meant for doing more than that.
mhm.
Sometimes we play small. And you just got to surround yourself with people who are playing big to really realize that more is possible.
Yep. Yeah. I've been really focused on just reinvesting in myself. Um, being in, from like spending more money for like a high-end gym just so I can like be around people that are like doing bigger things. Um, just like going to nicer restaurants just to like come across people.
Yeah. The secret is go
It's
to nice restaurants for lunch.
yeah.
Okay. Everyone goes there for dinner. They'll take their wife there on their birthday, even poor people.
Mm,
But during lunch, poor people are at work. Only rich
hmm
people can afford to go there for lunch.
hmm Yep.
That's where the real
I
business is.
yeah, that's a good gold nugget there.
Every time I go out to fancy lunches, I run into someone doing something, people driving nice cars and all of that because they have the time to do it.
Hmm Yeah. Showing
At some
interest in
point, it doesn't
people.
become about money, it becomes about time. You're buying time.
Oh, it's 100%. That's 100% right.
So talk to me about when we met, Jacob. How long ago was that now, man? It's been a couple of years now.
Um, yeah, it was further than last summer. It was about 2 years now, I think.
About 2 years ago. Got it. So when you came
Hmm
to me, would you say you were like still green in the middle of the road, pretty advanced in your sales career already?
Yeah, so at that point, I was on a better offer. I was doing solar. I was working for the very first company. And I decided, I grew up in the Midwest. Everyone in like Texas Midwest talks trash about California, how it's like being run into the ground. And I'm like the kind of person that I have to see for myself. So I decided to go out to California where I knew no one to knock doors. And yeah, um, I made a few sales, and I was putting the money back into meeting other people, meeting sales coaches. And yeah, that's when I first heard about the training, and like heard your way of doing it. And I'm like, wait, this is quite a bit different than most people teach.
So what were the biggest things that you were struggling at that point in with sales?
I was pretty good at the marketing, like setting appointments. I think the roughest part I was experienced at that time was my button up, wrapping up the sale, solidifying it. At that time, my cancellation rate was like over 50%. The average in door to door is usually around 50%, especially with home service offers. And I was like, I have to fix this because there's like a massive hole. All my profits are leaking out.
Yeah. So you're great at opening. I mean, let's say like you're a good old
Hmm
boy, good looking, you're a friendly guy, easy to talk to. So I'm sure people wanted to open and have that conversation. But when it came
hmm
down to asking for the money, that can be tough for some people, especially when
Yeah,
you're just starting off and you don't have the.
yeah. And I realized like half the people. No, actually, I realized pretty much everyone that I closed, I just like guided them through it, and then I like pretty much they had talked themselves into it, and I'm like, yeah, and just guided them, and not really like
You just stay out of the
hard
way.
close them. Yeah, I had stayed out of the way. I didn't like push them into it. They had talked themselves into it.
I can't tell you how many times salespeople mess up because I'm a buyer too, right? I go online, I look at ads, I buy things. I'll make a phone call and the salesperson cannot get out of the way. I'm ready to
Mm,
buy and they're just giving me their pitch. They're going through their story. And I'm like, just stop. I'm a sales trainer. I don't need all that. And they still keep going with their questions.
mm.
and they end up killing the deal. Like, I don't buy, I go to the next person, literally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But if you
that's
stay out of
rough.
the way, like you're saying, a lot of times that works better than any of the sales techniques that you've learned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ironically.
One of the biggest things I learned in door to door is like the takeaways. Like, I'm not even sure if we can do this. This is kind of just a proposal. This is probably like 80-90% of what's actually going to happen. And just like leading them to the next step.
Yeah. Well, everyone here wants to hear about the comeback story, right? They want to hear about the hero. So let's talk about the
Mm-hmm.
shift. Let's talk about that moment within the training that you started taking, right? We met 2 years ago. You started learning, we
Mm-hmm.
started role play calling. You were asking a lot of questions. I remember we're in a group of like 500 people, and you stood out because you ask questions, you engage, you're friendly, you're easy to talk to. So we talked a little bit even offline as well, and your sales career started to really take off. Right. So what were
Mm-hmm.
some of those breakthroughs that you had within the sales training that was different than maybe some of the other stuff you were learning?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I learned is like, in order to get good at anything, you have to put in massive reps. And so when I started switching into the remote, the online sphere, I was told that I needed at least 30 recorded Zoom calls of just a mock pitch. So I was like asking people for their methods, practicing with new people, practicing with, really experienced people, trying to like perfect what I had and like make it natural and like adjust the script to fit my voice. So I got to the point when I was like at 40 recorded calls where things was just like rolling off the tip of my tongue. I had gone through, the basically every single thing that everyone could bring as a rebuttal to me, I had in the back of my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, heard this before, no biggie. And just like, it allowed me to be super relaxed whenever I was having a sales call and turn it into a conversation. And just like, I was at the point where I felt like I could do it in my sleep. That was the
Shifting their
biggest thing.
objectives.
Yeah. And it was like, it allowed me to just like make it no pressure, do my sales calls relaxed, and just make it feel like I'm talking to someone I've known for a while.
Yeah.
Just because I
So
knew my craft so well.
what was the real turning point for you would say, in your career? Like, when did it shift from being a job in solar to you understanding that you're the business?
So I realized like there's a few things that you can do like once you get money in the bank, and that's to recruit other people. You can build a team under yourself. You can train others. You can do things that will bring you money passively than just like the next check, the next check, the next check. And when you start to have, some things that are just bringing you money passively, then I'd say it gives you a lot more freedom. And that like shifts your mind from just like being hungry all the time to just being, okay, I need something that motivates me more than like being at the edge of being broke.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're making money, now you're teaching other people to making money, and you're just stacking wins. And those wins stacked yourself to what point? How much were you making a month at that high point?
At the high point, I was bringing in, one day I made like, this was what I was doing roofing last summer, 3 in a day. So like I had the potential, just copying the person I was working under, almost like being his apprentice, at like 10,000 a day potentially. That ended up not being so great because I was actually, they were giving me the responsibility of fulfilling that offer. I couldn't just be on the sales side, but I saw someone, doing multiple of these high ticket offers, like 3 a day. And I'm like, wait, if I do this consistently, don't get burnt out, do it for a whole month. 10,000 a day times 20, it's like insane. I'm like, okay, that's probably going to be like 50% might cancel, but in the long run, 25,000 shooting around that range, it's definitely doable. I saw that it was possible for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, how was that with sustainability as you shifted shifted from going door to door, some's ending, now you got to go virtual, right? So it's
Yeah,
all not sunshine and rainbows. It wasn't always perfect, right?
yeah, it definitely was not. So when you're working with any offer that deals with insurance or any legalities or anything like that, you have to make sure that number one, the person who is the owner is like super reputable, really good character, you know, and you want to make sure like everything is like up to a T, up to par, like they're not doing anything that could be in a gray area. And so um, I found like I wanted to change and not work with the first person I started with, um, because there were some things that caused concern for me. And but I knew the offer I was on was great. They were giving me a lot of responsibilities after the sale was closed that I didn't want to have on my plate at all. And so I found someone that would do 100% of the fulfillment and still have me give me the same original commission. And then most recently, I found I could do that fully remote. And even if I was remote, I was like, I'm willing to take a paycheck, because if I'm working remote and living 10 minutes from the beach in an amazing climate, it's like it's worth it so much for me to have a better, more tranquil lifestyle, that I don't need as much money.
Yeah.
Because like long term, money's got to buy you something. And like the biggest thing people are really looking for is like quality of life and freedom.
That's it. So then that shift happened a couple months ago, I would say, and then you started traveling the world. I haven't heard from you that much since. You've been all over the place. So tell the people a
Yeah.
little bit about the last couple months, where you've been, what you've been doing.
hmm I've been to 23 countries, and it all started, before I dropped out of engineering university. And I'm at the point now where like jumping from country to country is not fun. Like the traveling part, getting from A to B is a lot of no fun. Unless, you're flying first class, but usually you're just trying to get there. You're just trying to get to the beach. If you're going to do this lifestyle when you're closing remotely, you don't want to be bouncing around. The thing is, at this point, I'm trying to like establish, a flag here or there. Mexico, Medellin, Colombia is really popular. I like Brazil myself, like Southern Brazil. And so just going to one place, living with someone who's also, grinding, so you can, compare, how much money you've made at the end of the week, so you can like really stay accountable to each other. That's going to help you. And then just like booking an Airbnb or booking a place for 2-3 months, just so you can like get used to your routine and focus. That's how you're probably going to have the most quality of life, but also be the most efficient and productive.
Yeah, so like you've been living the dream lifestyle, going from country to country, but it's still not all sunshines and rainbows. There's a downside.
Yeah,
to
I
both
mean,
sides.
you don't want to bounce around too much. It's a trap to become a traveler. Then you lose sales just because you get off your edge. So staying for at least a month is recommended. 2-3 is probably even better.
Got it. So now you're done with the Brazil. It's getting cold down there. Coming back to the States. Talk to me about your future. What are your future goals? What are you working on now?
Yeah. So the thing with sales is, if you're not having to do the fulfillment, for instance, in solar, that's really popular right now, you'll realize that, closing a deal that's maybe, a small system, maybe 8-10 panels, the bare minimum, is pretty much the same amount of work as closing a large system, like 40-50 panels, but you're making a significant more amount of money. So after a while, you realize I should just focus on the clients that are the most profitable. If I can pick, I'll just put all my efforts into the big deals. And once you're good at something, people recognize you, and they'll give you, bigger opportunities, bigger tests to see if you can handle them. So what I've been looking to do is get not only in, residential clean energy. I was looking into commercial for a little bit, but I realized that those people, they'll bid it out 10 times and their whole purpose is to drive the profit margins as low as possible. I realized I think my next big thing that I want to get into is renewable energy funds, and as well as, commodity based, resource type investment funds. And I mean, I started reading about it. I started, watching as many free YouTube videos as I could about it. I started, messaging people, following people on Twitter, talking about it. And eventually I met a few people. I ended up buying a short course on it. And that's when I think I brought up to you, and you're like, well, I'm kind of like, I have some connections there, and I'm kind of working on that too. And, it's gone that far. So far.
Yeah, like I understand the fund space very well. I've done this courses too and do the study. And I actually sit on a board of a fund, like I was telling you. But for the layman out there, what is a fund? They don't even understand what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's basically people that come together and do things, investments together. I mean, a lot of times people in real estate, they'll come together and like buy a big apartment building. They raise the money and they do it and they share, the profits. So there's, paperwork involved. There's lawyers that have to set it up. But, you might have heard like a SPAC where, investors go out and they like say, we're going to like focus on this sector and we're going to like go public or do this crazy stuff, moonshot ideas. It can range from, resources to pretty much everything.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the biggest guys in the industry, you look at Grant Cardone, what he's running is a real estate investment trust, right? A REIT.
Mm-hmm.
Same kind of thing, raising capital, grouping it together to buy real estate. It's just a legal structure that allows you to raise capital, SEC regulated, and lawyers are involved, like you said, to make sure everything goes according to plan.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'm actually going to be flying back to Miami for a fund event in early May. And yeah, that's the thing that's drawing me back to the US, just one event. And I'm going to try to meet as many people as I can, mention, what the fund that you have as well, seeing if I can get anyone interested. And yeah, we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, this is a really key point I want to make for you and for everyone that's listening. Luck is merely when opportunity meets experience. Right, so you've been putting in the work, you've been getting the experience. You're going to go to fund launch, the opportunities are going to show up. And the next time we talk, you're going to be the luckiest person I know.
Yeah, we'll see. I think
That's
it's like, you got to create luck. You got to make yourself lucky. A lot of it is positioning. And then if like you're in the right spot, but like nothing has happened, sometimes you just have to wait like longer. And it's kind of like these people that are making content, like they'll make content for years and then one of their videos blows up and then people come to their page and see all their other work. It's just like consistently, if you're getting good, eventually you're going to get noticed and you're going to get the return on all of your investment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 2 questions I have for you before we wrap, brother. Mm-hmm. One is, what is the one lesson that you really got from all the training that I gave you that helped you produce where you're at now?
Mm-hmm. The biggest thing is like, you have to cater, you have to specialize. Nowadays, everything needs to be customized for the person that's buying. The biggest thing you teach is, the different types of buyers in the training. That's extremely vital to understand. Whenever I do my sales call during the discovery, during like the triage call, I will really get to know the person, what's motivating them. A lot of times when people have all the money, it's hard to find like a motivation because they don't have a lot of pain. And they might want to be remembered. They might want to, make a difference for the world. Like, you got to figure out what it is in for them so that you can then make it into a win-win for all parties. Because like not everyone just cares about like the money. There's a lot of other things that can motivate someone. And if you figure out like that one point by asking really good questions and going deep with people, you'll be compensated for that skill set really well.
That's absolutely right. The pain-based selling works very well for people who have a lot of pain, which is usually poor people. People that have a lot of money, all that stuff doesn't work. You just got to learn how to relate to people. It's relationship at the end of the day. Right? Every single lock out there can be opened with the right key. So very intelligently, what you're doing early is identifying the key before you even try to unlock it.
Yes.
And that's it. Now, a big thing of what I teach is not to, copy and repeat, right? I hate scripts. I'm not about scripts. I'm not about, do as I do, follow me. That's not at all what I'm about, right? The biggest thing that I'm about is take everything that I teach you, stand on the shoulders of giants, elevate yourself, and then come up with your own thing. So before we leave today, my last question for you is, for you personally, what is your number one piece of advice that you could give any salesperson out there?
So when you're getting into sales, and you don't have anything, you haven't built up your reputation, you gotta, number one, apply massive action, and you gotta try. So like, no matter if you're wanting to, focus more on lead gen versus focus on closing, or focus on making content to like help the marketing team to like, because marketing and sales are just like hand in hand, they work together. Whatever you do, you have to do massive action so that you can build up your reputation, so that you can get case studies and have results to show to future clients. Whether it's like, I helped this homeowner down the street, or I built this landing page and now it's bringing in all these deals. You have to like pretty much work for free until you can get some case studies. You don't need a bunch, just 2 or 3 good results that came because of something you did. And then from there, you just build on that. The hardest part is always the start, but taking massive action to start, trying a bunch of things until something works. And it's easy now, because nowadays you have like all these people online that are making money. You have so many coaches and trainers. Just find someone that that you feel like you could learn a lot from, that you relate to really well. Learn everything you can from that one person, and find out how you can stand on their shoulders and just like take it to the next level. Make it like into something personal to you.
100%. Well, I appreciate your time today, Jacob. Thank you for being here. Always a pleasure catching up with you. Look forward to seeing you on the other side as we're raising that 100 million for that oil and gas fund. We're a good quarter of the way there already, so let's just boost it all the way there, and I'll see you on the other side, my friend.
All right, see you soon. Bye.
Take care.